Hello, everybody. Welcome to our podcast, Coffee with Your Friends. This is a podcast where we invite some friends to join me and share their experience of life. You are very welcome and good to have you here just now online with us, but also welcome everyone who will get connect with us later on or during the week watching this podcast. So tonight we have a special guest, a very good friend of mine, Wendell Fernandes. We will be bringing him soon to share about his life, his job, everything he wants to share with us. I'm sure you enjoy that. But before I bring Wendell, I would like to encourage you to subscribe in our YouTube channel. And do not forget to ring this small bell because every time we have a new podcast, you'll be informed about that. So also, I want you to encourage you to follow us in our Instagram and Telegram. So, and helping us to spread the news that there is a podcast Coffee with Your Friends, then you can share this with your friends, family members, everyone, if you want to. So, I have just before to bring Wendell, I wanted to bring up here another friend of mine, Khaled. Come up, Khaled, for Khaled. Forte Rodriguez.
Hello,
Oh,
hello everyone.
hello, Khaled. Good evening. How are you, Khaled?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you so much for inviting.
Yeah,
Pretty
yeah.
happy to be
The
here.
reason, lovely. The reason I'm bringing, you see my cup here, New Zealand. Yeah.
Mhm.
The reason I'm bringing Khaled is because Khaled is joining our team. Khaled will be helping us from now, and I would like to introduce Khaled to you all. And just Khaled, just can you just introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, sure. Well, I'm Brazilian from São Paulo, capital city, and I am been living in Poland for the five past years. 5 years that I've been here with my wife, and yeah, and she's Polish and I'm Brazilian. This is why I'm here. And but also we are moving soon to Canada, so it's a
No,
goodbye from
no
Poland.
children yet.
No children
No
yet.
children yet.
No children yet. Not yet.
Good,
And
Khaled.
yeah, this is it.
Khaled, I want to welcome you to joining us. I'm sure you're gonna help us to make a difference, and I'm sure
I
you'll
hope so.
be enriching this podcast. Thank you very much
Amen.
for being with us. See you later on. Okay. Thank you, Khaled.
See you. Bye, guys. Have fun.
Okay. Uh, we we have some people who are still getting connected with us. Um, I just wanted to sorry just to repeat again this, but subscribe your YouTube channel, please. Ring the bell, and you're gonna get information every time we have a podcast. Okay. Let's bring Wendell already. Um, come up, Wendell. Wendell Fernandes. Hello, Wendell.
What's
Good evening,
happening?
my
How are you?
brother. I'm okay, thank you. Where are you
Can you
speaking from?
can you hear me okay?
Yeah, amazing.
Cool. Awesome. I am speaking from the state of Texas, USA. In a city called Spring, Texas.
Wow, very good. It's hot. A winter. It's hot. It's a summer, isn't it?
Yeah, currently is super warm. So we're like in the up above, I don't know, 28 Celsius or
Really.
85, 87, 88 Fahrenheit.
So I'm speaking. I'm back to UK. I'm speaking from England, and in England today was something like 28, 29 degrees. Very, very hot.
Oh wow.
We have no structure here in England for summer. It's just for winter. You got aircon, are you?
Oh yeah, it's
Yeah.
yeah, it's very currently is very warm. I think it will be even worse. It will be even hotter very soon. So
Well, come on, Wendell. Could you introduce yourself, please?
yeah, so hello everybody or everyone here in the chat or looking online. So my name is Wendell Fernandes. Short is Del. That's my nickname. I am Brazilian. I've been living in US for a little over 20, 21, 22 years, I think. Um, and yeah, I'm a brother here. Live with my family. I'm married. 15 years married, 3 young ones. I have Joshua. He's 10 years old. I have Isabel. She's 8 years old, and I have Anna. She's 3 years old. Um, yeah, and our family lives here in Spring, Texas currently. Um, yeah, that's pretty much it. It's a pleasure to be here.
Very good. Welcome, Wendell. Wendell, how old were you when you moved to US?
I was between 15 and 16, so I was at the end of yeah, about 15 years old. That's when my parents moved from Salvador, Bahia, to Massachusetts, and I was about 15.
What is the biggest culture shocking when you just arrive in US?
I think at that age though, at that age, being 15 years old, you're super adventurous. You want, experience something new. Um, there's not much. There's a lot of expectation for the new things. But I think as far as culture shock, it was more. I would say it was mostly, living in suburbs in Brazil, like different locations, and then you have like all the different culture aspects. All the cars are different, and like the housing, like engineering and like some architecture stuff is different. But I think mostly in Brazil, I was in a English course for about 6 months, and so before I moved, I had somewhat of a exposure to the English language, different from my brother, and that he did not have that. So I was a little bit more familiar with the language, but it's still a little bit of a shock. But at that point in time, it was very adventurous,
Why you moved to US?
So, so my parents, right? So my father, he was a pastor for many years, many years. And there is another pastor that lives in currently he lives in North Carolina, but he used to live in Massachusetts. And for some years exchanging, information, emails, and interests and things like that, I think there was a need. There was a need for my father to give some support or to kind of help out in the ministry, in this Manuel's ministry. Yeah, we ended up moving. So my father came to visit in 96, and that relationship kept going until I want to say 99. So about, I think it was May or June of 1999. That's when we moved. We moved for good as family.
Very good. Wendell, can you just share with us your experience of life?
My experience of life. That's a loaded question.
I know it's a big question, but I want you to explore your experience. You know, when people have their lives changed for goods. I think this is why I'm more focused on asking you this question.
Yeah. So I'll give you a little bit of my character or personality. I've always been drawn to art, to creativity, to colors, and to experiencing things in life in general. So I did a lot of things when I was very young, and I started doing some small artwork and caricatures and illustrations from a very young age. And so I've always been drawn to this creativity sort of a part in my life, and that has followed me through my life and my work and everything that I do. So everything began, at that point. So I've done a lot: surfing, anything you can possibly imagine on the artwork sort of world and creative world. And from those experiences, then I fell in love with web design, graphic design, illustration, and they became more and more sort of like in the realm of professionalism, and going more into like the corporate world or the big businesses or big corporations. And today, as a career, I am a lead product designer at a financial sort of company here in United States, and so it's very sort of a summary of basically my life, and as not only the career, but I think from early age, experiencing and learning a lot from my parents on the Bible, the gospel, understanding about life purpose and meaning, and understanding my position, having or not having some gifts to express myself and a channel to express myself. Yeah, those two things have been following me around since forever. Both in the faith as well as in my career. So I never really shifted much on the creativity portion. So I've always been fortunate enough to experience multiple things. Pretty glad to continuing on that process.
Very good. So while we're talking here, people are getting connect with us. I want you to encourage these people just to interact with us, making comments, asking questions to Wendell. It will be really good to have you here. So we have this girl here. I'm a Venezuelan disciple living in Castanhal since the pandemic started. God's plan are mysterious. Mars.
I think he either got dropped from the call. I'm not sure. David, are you still online?
Okay. Yeah, I'm still there. Ramon's just getting back, so let's just take this banner out.
I would just make a quick comment on what Marcy said. Can I make a comment, Ramon, on what Marcy said?
Yeah, of course. Sorry, guys. I had some problem with my internet here. I'm back. Yeah, carry on.
Yeah, I was just gonna make a comment to Marcy. Marcy, a pleasure. Thank you for being around, being here in this talk. Yes, I completely agree with you. So God's plans are mysterious. Sometimes we know exactly where He's taking us. Sometimes we have no idea where He's taking us. Sometimes we like to be sure of where He's taking us, and sometimes we need proof, somewhat of an assurance that He's taking us to where we expect Him to. But I think the best thing that I could say is being mysterious or being transparent with us on his plans. Best assured that he's always in control, and he's always looking to give us new challenges. He's always willing to give us new opportunities. So thank you for commenting.
We have another guy here, Jairo from Salvador. Where you're from, Wendell?
Yes, Salvador is a big city. Big. I miss it. I miss the beach.
Very good. So, Wendell, how you met your wife?
How did I meet my wife? That's an interesting story there. I'll try to be very brief. So my father had this relationship or fellowship with some other pastors, always have been throughout Brazil. And one of these relationships was Paulo Fagiani, and he lived in Natal, Rio Grande do Norte, the different state in Brazil. And I want to say when I was about 9 years old, we went to Natal for the first time, and my dad was going to minister to some brothers there and to share some of his experiences. Technically, that's how we got to meet each other at some point. I don't recall it, but that was like the very first time that we met each other. But then in 2000, I think Beto was here. My brother, he was here in your podcast a couple of weeks back or a few weeks back. So he used to have this web design company called Design Multimedia. It was a web design, and my brother was a web designer. And my brother-in-law today, back then he still is, but back then he was a developer, a programmer, and they continued on this relationship. And in 2000, so Fagiani, which is he's my brother-in-law, he came to US to visit and to continue on his web design business with my brother. And Paula, my wife, came to visit a year later, and that's when we kind of clicked. That's when we kind of met for that, technically for the second time. But then that friendship grew so much, and I want to say about a year later, or almost a year later, we got engaged, and that was it. The rest is history.
How long you been married?
I have been married for 15 years.
Ooh, very good. So we have here feedback from Marcy to you. It would be good for you just to take a look. Yeah. Thank you for your comments. Very good. So, Wendell, been living in US for some years, and I know that you moved back to Brazil for some time. How was this change? Just tell us a little bit. Living in Brazil, moving to US as teenager, and then you're getting American culture, and suddenly, for various reasons, I can imagine that you have to move back to Brazil for some time. 2 years or how long? Tell us a little bit about this experience.
Yeah. So it's a cool experience. So we lived in Massachusetts for, at that point in time, was about 18 years. That's myself. About 18 years had been living there, and I think it was about 10 years for Paula. Somewhat like that, but living there in the community and with the church and the brothers where we congregated in that location, we lived very actively with the church and helping different brothers and sisters. At some point, we wanted to do more. We wanted to move. We wanted to. Brazil was not in our plans, to be honest. It wasn't a plan to go to Brazil and to live there for 2.5 years, because that's basically the time that we spent in Brazil. But we wanted to do more for God, for the Lord, and our faith, and continuing on our journey and experience. And so I really wanted to go to Africa. I wanted to go to places where I had no idea about people and experiences. I wanted to serve God in a different way, or be more active, right? And so after some prayer, some experiences, some conversations with some people that were sort of like, very active with us, guiding our lives per se, and some mentors. We understood that Brazil was a sort of like a pathway to something else later on, if God, so chose to take us. And so when we moved, I was 100% certain that God was going to guide us there. I had some very strong convictions from God. And me and my wife, I think our kids were very, very, very young at the time. Joshua, I think it was like 3 or 4. But moving, yeah. So it's a big shock so here's 2 things, right? 2 principles, I guess. The first one is if your life is based on this moment right now and what you can do and what you can provide or what you can control, in that sense, you become very nervous about the decisions that you make, right? And you become very uncertain of results, and you just never know what's going to happen, and you keep depending on yourself. But when you have a conviction that is bigger than yourself, then when you have this faith and you have, security that God is really taking care of you and controlling and giving you guidance, etc. Then everything it doesn't become easier, but it becomes you understand that it's bigger than you. Like you rest in that decision. And so when we moved to Brazil, I was very active photographer. And so in 2009, we moved in 2016 to Brazil. But in 2009, I had begun a very, very awesome career in photography. So I did weddings and photos of many different things. But one of my go-to projects was to be a photographer for organizations, for nonprofit organizations. And I did that, and God allowed me to travel to Peru, to Colombia, to other places to be that documentary photographer. And because of this, I had many opportunities to talk about my life, my family, talk about my faith, and talk about things that really matter in our lives, right? And that was one of the reasons why we wanted to move outside of our sort of like our own little world there in Massachusetts. We wanted to do something more. So the change was definitely a drastic change, being naturalized American and as American citizen and living in the U.S. for many years. That was a big change because I had not ever been in Brazil living for a long time after that move when I was 15. And so by the time I came back, I was already married. My career was already, taken off as far as designer and photography and things like that. And so it was definitely a big shift, but it was a shift that I don't regret it. God took us to very specific places and situations where He gave us a lot of experience in life. Yeah.
Okay, Wendell, thank you very much. Wendell, being a son of a pastor, as you mentioned this already, tell us about your Christian experience.
Yeah.
How you became a Jesus disciple or a Christian guy, not actually just by your parents' influence, which was really good. I'm not criticizing that, but I would like to hear something from yourself, your personal kind of experience, if it makes sense.
Yeah. It's a very interesting question. So I think there's 2 parts of this. One part was, as you said, was a big influence from my parents, and I'm glad I was influenced. I'm glad that I have that portion of the story. But the second portion of the story, you don't really quite realize the depth and how deep your faith is until you face different situations. You're alone. You're struggling. You're in front of people. You need help that is different from the parents, from the brother, or from that close friend. You need help that is from up above, from someone that is above us all, right? And so I think for the first portion, how I got to know Jesus was through my parents. I mean, through their preaching and through their example. And as I said before, so my understanding about everything that I do has always been in that creative space. And so my dad was gracious enough to explain to me about the faith and about God and about so many things that I needed to understand, but with my language. And he used the language of that, of a creativity. He used the language of superheroes. I mean, I was only 11 at the time, and so he used many different things to explain to me what faith was like and what it really truly meant to be a disciple of Jesus. And at that point in time, I didn't have any sort of life exposure, that I know many people have. And so there wasn't many things to compare. I just fell in love with Jesus. I fell in love with depending on God and not being able to depend on myself and depending on the Lord and things like that, right? And so by that time, that age, everything for me kind of clicked, and I never really looked back. But the second portion of this story is when we start to face things that are super critical in our lives, right? Either through marriage or through our relationship with different brothers and sisters, or through the work and professional career. You start facing situations where you need to depend on the Lord. You are faced with challenges that you have no idea how to take them to the next level or to even resolve. And then, I could probably point out like multiple stories and different experiences where those things kind of came to fruition. And it was a confirmation as the decision that I had made when I was 11 years old. So it's kind of interesting, but yeah, that's kind of how I got to first know Christ, but also how I got to mature and continue maturing in my life with Jesus.
Yeah. Oh, thank you very much. Very good, Wendell. So, Wendell, how you mentioned you decide to depend on Jesus for everything in your life. So, when you are working as a creative guy, and how you bring this spiritual side in your creative when you're creating whatever, and then how you mix this kind of this your spiritual side with your mind, with your understanding. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Mm-hmm.
How you do that?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. It's a two-sided thing, right? One side is, yes, I think because of creativity, there is a danger in that. There's a very real risk of creative people. They usually are or have that mentality of creators, like creators, right? They have that mentality of I can do it. I have my spin. I can take it to a different level, and we fall into this temptation all the time, and to thinking that we did something, much more so than a person who is a mathematician or more logical. So there's this side of the which I have to watch personally all the time. There is a quote, Ramon, that I like very much, and it has always followed me through my career. And the quote is from a guy called Andre guide, guide, and the basically the quote is, art is a collaboration between men and the artist, and the less the artist does, the better, right? And so it's always followed me around, like all my teachings and workshops and things, because the less we do will be better. God must be the one enthroned. God must be the one. God is the creator. He is the one that created us, and He gave us the ability to do anything we can do today. And there's many verses in the gospel, in the Bible, where I love the fact that, and these are my favorite ones, are the ones that says, like, for example, when Noah was building the ark, and God is telling him to create using these nails, using the wood, and when he explains about the curtains, God says, do it like an artist. Do it like the artist. And so there are multiple verses in the Bible where God actually uses the word artist to explain that creative part. And God is very creative himself, right? And I think it's to tie into your question, it's a matter of self-awareness. It's really, so my work is always based on creating and providing solutions, for example, for users trying to, like, if you're watching here and using StreamYard is an application, and by using this application, things must make sense to you. You must click a button. That button has a different behavior. And so when you make a comment, when things pop out on the screen, why did that happen? And this is actually my job, like, daily. And so I'm always providing solutions to people and solutions to users in how that user experience is provided. Tying into your question is, I keep always asking God to guide me, to guide the user, not for me to guide the user, not for me to guide people into what I think is correct, but what I think, God could be honored in that, even in the smallest details. I think is very important. And always, like, the second portion is always use whatever talent you have. Some people here might be more into the math world, or more into the logical aspect, or some people like you, Ramon, you like history a lot. How can you use these skills and attract other people for God, right? And so I'm always thinking and trying to build different strategies like that, and being just sensible to what God wants, right? There was I'll tell you one little story, and I'll stop. So photography, as I said, has been always a part of since 2009, and at one point I used photography. There's a website called meetup.com. It's called meetup.com. It's a very known website. And basically, it's a website. You create events that attracts people that you want to teach something for free or paid. But it's a very well-known website out there. And so because of this sort of mindset, I was able to create different workshops around photography, but also speak about the importance of life and balance, like life and work balance. I was able to speak about the importance of family and building your family first, and then building your business later. And so little things like that, you start having the experience to expose more of your personal side, but also using photography in my case, but anything else as a pretext to do more for the Lord, And so I think I've always used that creativity part to try to attract more people to that mindset as well.
Amazing. Thank you, Wendell. Well, our God is a creator. And when we travel around the world, we can see amazing views, amazing places. Is a God's creation, isn't it? Thank you very much. I feel really blessed when you share this with me. I have a son who is a sport therapist. He works for a football club here in Plymouth, and he does lots of massage. And I always encourage him, when you massaging people, yeah, when you're recovering football players, just in your heart, pray for them and blessing them. And I'm sure God can use your hands to heal them. And he's telling me that there's lots of miracles happening. And the guy should be recovering 2 weeks. Sometimes I can recover him in just 1 week. But it's not me, it's Jesus through my life.
Amen.
So
Amen.
I'm very encouraged about what you say. Everything God's been using to create. This is amazing. Wendell, I wanted to give you opportunity to say something about whatever business, what you have in your heart, in terms of people being more proactive, investing, spending time in the right way. I don't know what you got in your heart, but it would be good to hear from you, just to encourage you. We don't know how many people will be watching this later on, and some people they got adult, some people are stuck in some ways and need to be released, need to be more proactive. So what you can share with us, please?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think what I could probably share is something that I've tried to follow myself. And if you're listening here, listening later, life is about choices. Life is definitely about choices. It's the right choice or the wrong choice. We all have a choice to make. And what you are reaping from the things that you have planted, what you are experiencing today, the people who you meet today, the level of the work that you do today is based on what your investment was 3, 5, 10 years ago. It's not that you're doing something today that you're going to get the results today, right? And I speak this in the matter of a career, professionalism, as well as spiritually. If you don't plan and plant the right stuff today, you will not be able to change or to make a difference. And in business is the same thing, and in spiritually is the same thing as well. I will give you an example. I would not be able to be where I am professionally today if I didn't sacrifice many things in the past, and if I didn't invest in knowledge and myself and schooling and training. And the things that I live and I experience today, these are the things that I struggled and I fought for many years ago. And so it's really a life choice. You have to make those decisions. But spiritually, it's the same thing. If you don't invest if you're married here, if you don't invest in your wife, in your family, if you haven't invested, today is not the day that you're going to reap that and you have a result that you can actually tell a story. You will, what's the verse? You will sow what you will reap what you have sown before.
Yes. Yeah.
And so if you have sown in the past about your family, being a father, being close to your children, and in your marriage, same thing. You have to plant the right things, and it doesn't matter, how much you plant. You have to plant. And so I'm fortunate enough to have been in a journey where I can clearly see where God is taking us, me and my wife as a family, and my children. But it's about choices. And so if you're struggling in life, you're struggling with the different decisions, I think the first step is to really stop, analyze what you're doing today, analyze where God has taken you. What are the challenges that you're facing right now? And what do you think that challenge is and what you're learning from it? But then you have to analyze the past. Why are you reaping? Why are you taking all these fruits today? What happened back then? What happened years ago? Define those moments and make sure that you change from this point forward. It's really a matter of choice and self-awareness, always understanding that God has a better plan than yourself, than mine, than Ramon's. Always understanding that God has the better hand. He will always guide us in a way that is challenging, but is also, assuring that he will take care of us. There is a verse, Ramon, and I can end with this. There's a verse in the Bible, is in Ecclesiastes, and at the end of Ecclesiastes, I can't recall the actual text, but you can probably help out later on this. But it says that the riches are not for the richer or the rich person, or the opportunities are for this, or the rice for the people who plant. But it says at the end of the verse, it says the opportunity happens to all of us. All of us, we all have the same opportunity. If you want to experience something about career, well, you have the opportunity to train yourself, to go to school. If you want to learn English, you have the opportunity to learn from the internet, from tools, to make a difference. If you want to preach the gospel, you have the opportunity. You have neighbors, you have friends. All the opportunities are all the same for all of us. It's really a matter of self-awareness and decision and action, and really taking action to what your plan is.
Lovely. I have a question for you here from Khaled. How did you know that God was leading you towards business?
That's a very good question. How did I know God was leading me towards business? I think many things happened, Caleb. Many things happened naturally. You start to understand things. You start to really read the different information that is given to you. So basically, from a very young age, I started to draw caricatures, and my father gave me the opportunity and said, "Hey, man, look at this brother. He's a marketer. He does great logo design. He does all these great things. What do you think?" And so I go like, "Yeah, I love logos now." And so I start to get like a little bit more of that. Now it's like someone is trying to pay you for the logo design that you will be doing in the future. And so you start clicking and joining things together. I think one of the important parts of this is we are God wants to use us however he created us. He wants to use us. He wants to guide us exactly the way he made us to be. And he wants to use us to the max of our abilities. It's not like being like mediocre or being like, it's really like, if you like music, use for the gospel, use for the glory of God, use the way God gave you, and go into that business and build a career, build a course, sell it online. If you are a mathematician, same thing, go after, and God will give you the guidance. And knowing two things, one more thing is knowing that when God stops, don't force that door. Be sensitive to what God is telling you, because you might be very very talented in a specific area, but God might give you completely different direction. But be sensitive to that. Even though he gave you some gifts, be sensitive to what he's actually telling you. We have to be sensitive as well. Like, I know Caleb is moving to a very far place. And my advice would probably be to pray so God can open doors, however those doors are. If it is through career, if it is through relationship, but knowing exactly this, God will provide you. If he guided you to a specific place, he will guide you and he will provide everything you need to be in that place. Don't worry about money, silver or gold. In Haggai, the text there says, God says, "The gold and the silver is mine. You take care of my house. You take care of my things, and I'll take care of yours."
Very good, Wendell. Thank you very much. What you say is get out of your comfort zone, take risks, yeah, and go ahead, pushing doors. And if God closes the door, it's fine. But if God can open the door, but if you don't push, it'll be difficult to know where God wants to take you. Wendell, I would love to carry on this conversation, but unfortunately, we have a limited time. And I want to give you the last opportunity to say anything, your a kind of a final consideration, whatever you want to say for people, up to you.
Well, I think as a last thing, I thank you for the opportunity. Um, I'm super open to serve and to help anybody here. If you have questions, if you have things in life, you want to experience, or things you are facing right now, either parentship or anything, right? I'm here to serve and to help you all. So I thank you, Ramon, for the opportunity. It will be a pleasure to continue to speak again.
Wow. Oh, Wendell, thank you. You see who is here? Ooh. I'm trying to connect with this guy Douglas. I want to bring him here for an interview.
This
Douglas
guy,
from
this guy has some stories. I tell you that much.
yeah, I would love to hear his stories. Yeah. Thank you, Douglas, for being connected with us. So, okay, Wendell, thank you very much.
Thank you,
God
Ramon.
bless you, and my love to your family, to your lovely wife, your kids. Okay. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
being with us. Okay, guys, we are leaving now. Thank you very much for getting connected with us. And I hope to see you next Wednesday, 7 p.m. Brazilian time, and with another friend, another guest. Okay? Don't not forget to subscribe in our YouTube channel. Also, follow us in Instagram, and I'm sure that's every time we have something. Telegram as well, Instagram and Telegram. Also, we have a page in Facebook. Get connected with us, helping us to tell your friends, people who want to have a English channel. One of the purpose of this coffee podcast is help you to improve your English. Okay, so tell your friends, if you want to learn English, improve your English, this is the right channel. God bless you. See you next week. Bye.